Rebel. Reject. Create.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to the Rebel, Reject, Create podcast, where today my guest is Sarai van de Boel, who is an artist and now also an author, as well as a trainer, speaker, and artist's coach. So welcome to the show, Sarai.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So we kind of connected when your book came out, which was now a couple of months ago, because I admit it took me too long to read it. You've studied creativity closely, obviously, as an artist, but also in order to write this book. Tell us a little bit more about why this book and why now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I studied creativity, but I think creativity is all around us and not only divided as a form of art, and that we say the creativity industries are separate. So that's a bit strange for me to think about the term creativity. So I developed myself as a practical philosopher by using art. And I saw that the way of thinking is very nice to be more open about the world. So also with people from businesses, I realized, well, do we think enough together? So there became a need to share my vision about that.
Yeah.
So to share my metaphors I always use, and to be, to inspire other people, like artworks. What can you question? It produces philosophy, produces questions, and produces creativity in your mind to think about phenomena. So that felt as a need. I need to inspire all my experiences, others. So
right. Okay. And you've just mentioned it now that like a lot of people don't think they are creative. Why do you think people feel like that?
Yeah, I think what I just said, they are divided maybe in a corner which not has the name creativity, or so let's philosophizing about that. Can a person not be creative? I think that's impossible. It's a way, I think it's the essence of human beings, I think, creativity. Otherwise we wouldn't have made this world how it is. So your question was, do people think they are not creative? I think others made them think that.
Right.
So I think creativity is more about finding solutions, trying to think about problems. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do. Yes. I mean, I always have to ask that question because, of course, I believe everyone's creative, especially people who tell me they're not.
Yeah.
Now, when I talk about creativity, I try and stay away from art because of what you've just said.
Yeah.
There's so many stereotypes about creativity, but you do exactly the opposite. I mean, you use art to help people get in touch with their creativity. I mean, why is art so important for understanding creativity? And I mean, you've touched on it a bit here as well, for understanding life in general. Why? How does that work?
Yeah, because when we look at the term creativity, then we discovered it can be everything, thinking. So for me, I don't use the term creativity not many times in my book, I think.
No.
So I don't fill it in as an art form. So yeah, what was your question? Why I use art?
Yeah, why do you use art? What's the power there to help people think differently?
Well, good art, I think there. The term art is quite broad, of course. A piece of music can be art as well, architecture, design, sculpture. And I think all these art forms, they produce in a way feelings, poetry, philosophy. So it lets you feel, think, discover. So I think it's very important to use this for speak about life, about things you recognize. So in my mind, there's the philosopher Gilles Deleuze, French philosopher, and he said, well, it's about practical philosophizing about art and not the knowledge of philosophy around it. So that's what he said, very beautiful. He said art produces things to think about it. So that makes you, when it's, when it's touching you, it makes you thinking.
Makes you think, yeah. That's interesting. So it gives you permission to think differently about stuff by in its embodiment, the fact that it's there, that it's physical, that it touches you, that kind of sets you free from all your judgments and the way things should be.
Yeah, like an example, like Rothko. So you know the artist with the color fields and very big and soft, and people, many people cry when they stand in front of these paintings, and I think something is happening. Maybe something they never normally do. People don't cry in a museum normally, and then that's happening, and maybe they are opening their minds. Maybe that's also creativity, to open your mind, to be free. Just what you said.
Yeah. So if you think about that, right? I mean, someone sends you an Excel spreadsheet and your brain and your emotions act one way, and then you step into a museum and you see an amazing piece of work and our brains react differently. I mean, how do you explain that? Like, what's actually going on there?
Yeah. Well, the right part of the brain is doing this. So it's, of course, always in balance and working together. But at these moments, it's the right wing, which is let you intuition.
Yeah.
Sorry. And your, it let happen emotions. So that's happening in the brains. And they say, well, creativity is part of that right brain. And I think, like Nietzsche, the philosopher 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, he warned for that our society is more busy with the left part. So he said, well, we need to take care of that balance. It's so healthy for us. It makes joy, it makes you happier to have this in balance. So that's the art part in that right brain. What's the word for that in English? I looked it up. Hemisphere.
Right hemisphere, yes.
Yeah.
So is that why you wrote this book? Do you agree with Nietzsche that we live in a world that is out of balance and needs correcting?
Yeah, in a way it is. I mentioned only in one sentence, but I think he's right that even this society, it's a control society. So there's no trust. I think we need to be more open-minded, to trust each other more. And it has to do with your balance, like not only think about results and about wrong or right. So
polarization, effectively.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. And so this reaction that we've been speaking about that art gives you, is that the way to a more middle ground, a more balanced perspective?
Yeah, but not like this. I think it can help to use the tools of philosophizing, that you can think about what it evokes, an art piece. So you can find the essence of it together. That's really nice to do. and then you can learn about yourself and about others, and it makes connection between a group. So art can have a function for that as well.
Yeah.
But I think you need the questions, the right questions.
Right. Well, talking of which, maybe you can talk us through the methodology of the book, because you go through different areas and phases using different artworks of examples. So from your perspective, what do you want the book to do with us, the reader?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm using 8 tracks, and in a way you can follow them. But the book will learn you that you have to follow your own track. So sometimes it's standing still, very important at the time. But in a way, it's a sort of schedule to come to harmony. That's what we all want, of course. And the book is helping you to recognize in what phase you are and what step you can take. So in one phase, you can think, well, don't step out of that comfort zone. Be calm. So normally managers, they learn, oh, you need to go out and step out of my zone. That's a sort of hero business plan. But it's more Buddhistic in a way.
Right.
To find your balance.
Accept what is as what it is.
Yeah. And in all these phases, I use around 10 works of art and philosophical questions.
Right.
Examples.
Now, also, I mean, something we haven't even really spoken about yet is the fact that a lot of what's in the book is based on your practice as doing this within big companies and corporations, taking art. I mean, I'm amazed that people hire you, because, you know, corporates are so often like, poof, 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 poof.
Yeah, square thinking.
Right.
To use the metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you encounter when you do these sessions with people from big companies?
Yeah. Nowadays, you feel that there is a need for other way of working together. And then they recognize, hey, it's fun and it's interesting to look at a piece of art and to find words for it, and then maying be poetical. So with Philips, the company, we made a poem about an artwork with all the words came up with the people, in the people's mind. And we made a poem of that. So I said, well, what's your agenda this week? Let's make a poem about that. So they found out, oh, it can be fun. It can be more fun and more meaning and more deep to work together. So I think that was the trick in a way.
Yeah.
It triggered them to act differently. And some people said, well, because of these words, it's so important we have our own words and not the words of the
of the ownership, of the management, the strategy and the vision and all of that stuff.
Yeah, all the visions, the beautiful quotes on the walls. They said, oh, it's disturbing me. I want our words on the wall.
Right. So they take ownership.
Yeah, that's it. It's good word.
Okay. Well, I mean, that just fits so well with other research, doesn't it? That when people are having fun and enjoying themselves, they're more productive.
Yeah.
And because they want to carry on instead of they must carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. It has been said that art is the mirror of society, and that the role of the artist is to reflect back to the rest of us, you know, where we are and what's going on in the world. Would you say that that perspective on the artist is still true today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even more than the decade before, but I'm not sure, because when I think about Malevich and Mondrian more than over 100 years ago, when they developed their abstractions from idealistic motivation to make people calm because of that. It was very engaged.
Right.
Like that was what Piet Mondriaan did. First World War. Well, let's make the walls white, and art makes you more in balance, harmony. And Malevich had another idea about that. He said, well, this world needs another kind of art, and that can help people to be more open, to be more focused on the cosmos. But you asked for artists right now in this period. Let's take an example, Kara Walker, the American artist, and her theme is slavery. So she makes a lot of drawings about stories from slaves from many years ago. And very hard stories, killed slaves and prisoners and racism. And she makes these drawings not to teach you a lesson, and that's interesting. She's engaged, and she said, let's think about it, let's speak about it together. So yeah, it's still there, but it must be in that way, not too seriously. There must be humor as well, I think, in art to be engaged. So these examples you can see a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing that I enjoyed so much reading your book and going through the different tracks, was that the different artworks reflect different things, but that also changes depending on the questions that you ask.
Absolutely.
Which I thought was really powerful, because some of the works you mentioned, I was like, I'm not quite sure where you're going with this, but then you see how it changes based on the interaction with your clients.
Yeah, it's very important to coach these questions. Otherwise, you have to develop it yourself in a way. You can't copy them. No. Questions with a work of art.
Great.
Because it can be every other question, maybe.
All right. So Sarai, your book is available in both Dutch and English. Has it been translated into any other languages yet?
No, not yet.
So available in Dutch and English. I'm going to include the links to your website and your publisher's website, so if people are interested, they know where to get the book and to buy it online. Do you have anything that you definitely want to wrap this conversation up with, that you want people to think about with relation to art and creativity and the message of your book?
Okay. Yeah, I think the book ends with the art and philosophy strategy. The most important thing, the goal of the book is use it, not the book, but the philosophizing.
Right.
That's very important. I think we can develop it ourselves. And the third part is also for teachers who want to know, how do I develop good questions? And I would ask everybody to think about good questions. They help us.
They certainly do. In market research, they say the answers are worth nothing if you've asked the wrong questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sarai, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It's been lovely having you here. For all of you who are listening, if you want to know more about Sarai, I've got all the links under the episode over here. So please do go and check it out. And don't forget to have a good look at the e-commerce links to find where you can see the book as well. So remember to rebel against the status quo, reject your own assumptions, and create into the space that results. This is the last episode for season 2 of the Rebel, Reject, Create podcast. I'm going to be taking a short break after this. So I'll see you sometime in 2024. Sarai, thank you again.
Thank you, David.